Covetousness runs deeper than mere wanting. It is the conviction that what you have can't make you whole. It disguises the hunger for significance as sacrifice and thrives in the noise that misses God's presence. We've been in the storm for so long, we've forgotten the calm. Contentment isn't found in abundance, but in God's sufficiency, living in His potential, not our own.
Thanks for joining us on Life Journeys, a podcast about thriving through the worst pain that life brings. With global initiatives threatening big changes to our way of life, we're going to need to activate Jesus' words about mountain-moving faith. Words That Work is the ongoing series on Life Journeys that is rooted in releasing revelational words of faith that will work every time and with everyone. It's about moving the mountains that keep us from the presence and goodness of God. It's about defining our life purpose and identity through encountering Him until we have the power to move the obstacles that are destroying our liberty and hope.
There's a kind of poverty that has nothing to do with money. It is the poverty of the person who has everything and still feels the hollow pull of more. More recognition, more comfort, more control, more certainty about tomorrow. It is the poverty that builds careers and empties marriages, that fills calendars and starves souls. Most of us have lived there at some point, some of us for a very long time, without ever quite calling it by its name. And then there is a kind of wealth that the world cannot manufacture, price, or steal. The New Testament calls it contentment, not resignation, not apathy, not the tired surrender of a defeated spirit, but a deep, settled sufficiency that comes from knowing who goes with you through every season of life. The writer of Hebrews names the source of it plainly. He hath said, I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. The promise is the foundation. The contentment is the house that rises on it. Today I want to talk about that house, how it is built, what it costs, and why. Once you have lived inside it, nothing else will ever feel quite like home. 1. The school of enough. I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. Philippians 4:11. Notice that Paul does not say contentment came to him naturally. He says he learned it. The word in the Greek suggests a long apprenticeship, the kind of learning that happens not in a classroom, but in a crucible. Paul had been abased and had abounded, had known hunger and fullness, prison and freedom. Contentment was not the man's temperament. It was his theology worked out through years of hard experience. Most of us begin our lives believing that contentment is a destination, somewhere out ahead of us, just past the next achievement, the next acquisition, the next season of relief. The career is going to settle us. The relationship is going to complete us. The vacation, the diagnosis, the promotion, the retirement. Somewhere in that future geography, we are certain, contentment awaits. But Paul had been in enough futures to know they all have the same problem. They keep becoming the present, and the present keeps wanting something more. The School of Enough does not teach what we would choose to study. Its curriculum is drawn up by providence, and the coursework is often hard. Illness that will not lift, doors that will not open, capacities that quietly narrow, seasons of stripping away that leave us standing in a room that is smaller than the one we had planned. But it is precisely in that smaller room that many of us have our first clear view of what was always most important. One man, looking back across decades of wilderness camping, hunting trips to the Canadian border, television ministry, overseas travel, and years of relentless productivity, found himself confined to a recliner and said something that startled even himself. In many ways, my average day has more happiness in it than ever before. The world had shrunk. The joy had somehow expanded. He had stumbled, through no wish of his own into the school of enough. And he was, at last, beginning to graduate. 2. What covetousness actually costs. He that loveth silver shall not be satisfied with silver, nor he that loveth abundance with increase. This is also vanity. Ecclesiastes 5:10. The writer of Hebrews frames contentment against its opposite. Let your conversation be without covetousness. The word translated conversation here means your whole manner of life, your daily orientation, the posture of your soul toward the world. Covetousness is not merely the desire to possess what belongs to another. It is the deeper conviction that what you currently have is not enough to make you whole. And it is relentless. And that conviction, once it takes root, is extraordinarily difficult to dislodge, because the world is very good at confirming it. The economy runs on the premise that you are perpetually incomplete. The news traffics in threat and lack. Social life offers an endless parade of comparison. Every advertisement is a small sermon about your insufficiency and its cure. If men and this world can give you all you think you want and need, they can also take it all away from you. And one day, they will. This is not pessimism. It is simply arithmetic. The tragedy of a covetous life is not that it fails to achieve. Often it achieves enormously. The tragedy is that every achievement raises the bar. The man who would not rest until he built something great cannot rest once he has built it, because now he must protect it, expand it, defend it against those who might diminish it. The woman who measures her worth by her productivity discovers that rest feels like failure. The minister who pours himself into career and calling may look up one day and realize, with a grief that words can barely hold, that he was so busy serving the church that he was lonely at home. Busyness is covetousness in a clerical collar. It is the hunger for significance dressed in the language of sacrifice, and it costs us, quietly and comprehensively, the very things it promises to secure. 3. The unshakable foundation. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. Hebrews 13:5. I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places whither thou goest. Genesis 28:15. The promise that undergirds all contentment is not a principle. It is a person, and that person has a remarkable habit of repeating himself on this particular point. He said it to Jacob, fleeing in fear with nothing but a stone for a pillow, the future a dark and unknown country. He said it to Israel through Moses, standing at the threshold of an uncharted wilderness. He said it to Joshua, inheriting a mission larger than any man ought to carry alone. He said it to Solomon through his father David, on the eve of an undertaking that would require everything Solomon had. He said it in the Psalms, where the aged poet looks back over a long life and reports with quiet wonder that he has not once seen the righteous forsaken. 7 times, 8 times, more times than we can easily count, God returns to this same ground. He will not leave. He will not fail. He will not forsake. The repetition is not rhetorical padding. It is divine insistence. God keeps saying this because he knows how thoroughly we keep forgetting it. We forget it when the storm rolls in. We forget it when healing eludes us. We forget it when we have failed so badly that we cannot imagine he would want to stay. But the promise is not contingent on our memory of it or on our worthiness to receive it. It is contingent on his character, and his character does not change. Jesus Christ the same yesterday and today and forever. When the storm clouds gather, he has not changed. When we grow cold, he remains warm. When we fail in ways we are ashamed to name out loud, he says, quietly and with the calm certainty of the one who chose us before we ever had the chance to sin. Nothing's changed. This is the unshakable ground. Every lesser foundation will, in time, prove insufficient. Money, friends, possessions, reputation, these may give a measure of genuine joy, but they are all things that circumstances can revise. Only the presence of God is categorically unreachable by what threatens us. Neither prison, poverty, politics, pandemic, nor prejudice can get their hands on it. Men cannot take away the joy that comes from God. War cannot take away the peace that is created by heaven. No power on earth can reach up to the throne and unmake what the atonement has secured. 4. Learning to receive the presence. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. The difficulty is not that God withholds his presence. The difficulty is that we are often too busy to notice it. We burn the wick instead of the oil, and the lamp smokes and dims. We strain at the oars of a boat that seems to be going too slowly, not realizing that we have been in a storm so long we have forgotten what calm water looks like. Jesus found Martha in exactly this condition, clattering around in anxious preparations, while the one she was preparing for sat quietly in the next room. "You are troubled about many things," he said. The observation was gentle but precise. Martha was not troubled about nothing. Her concerns were real, but she had mistaken the means of honoring Jesus for the thing itself, and in the process had missed the gift she was working so hard to offer. Many of us are Marthas. We are troubled about our health, our finances, our nation, our families, our futures. These are real troubles. The Lord does not dismiss them, but he keeps drawing us back to the one thing that is needful, his presence, his sufficiency, the simple radical act of stopping long enough to be with him. Paul discovered that contentment flows from this sufficiency, not from abundance. Our sufficiency is of God, he writes. And again, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. The grace Paul describes does not eliminate the weakness. It operates within it. It does not remove the limitation. It transforms it into the very location where divine strength becomes most visible. The man confined to a recliner who says his days are the happiest of his life is not speaking from denial. He is speaking from a place most people have never been, a place where the only things left are the only things that ever mattered. Be content with what you have, for he is with you. Be content with what you are, a human being, imperfect and finite, and entirely known by the one who chose you before the world began. Be content with who you are, not created to be greater than others, but to love them. Be content with where you are going, to a country whose architect and builder is God himself, where no storm ever reaches and no loss is ever permanent. 5. The gain that cannot be taken. But godliness with contentment is great gain. 1 Timothy 6:6. Paul tells Timothy that godliness combined with contentment is great gain, not modest gain, not adequate gain. Great gain, the gain that the lottery cannot provide and the market cannot secure. The gain of a soul that has found its center in the one who will never leave it. This is what God wants for you, not a life of striving toward your own potential. Living up to God's potential instead of your own is where the real life begins. He wants to so fill your heart with his own fullness that you will be in desperate want of nothing. Not because nothing has gone wrong, but because what is right goes all the way down to the foundation, and the foundation cannot be moved. The Lord is your shepherd. You shall not want. He makes you lie down. Not because you have finally earned it, not because everything has been resolved, but because he is the kind of shepherd who leads beside still waters and restores the soul that has forgotten how to be still. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow you all the days of your life, all of them, the hard ones and the easy ones, the days of abasement and the days of abundance, every last one. Let the world chase its winnings. Let ambition have its trophies. But let Jesus win your heart and discover in that surrender a greater gain than anything this age can offer or take away. He will never leave you. He will never forsake you. He has said it, and he is God. That is enough. That has always been enough. That is, in fact, the art of enough. And it is the most beautiful life available to any human soul. I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me.
You can unlock the presence of God in your life. There are revelation principles that remove the mountains, keeping us from joy, hope, peace, and purpose when our world gets turned upside down. Look for these words that work with Pastor Hardika as he shares what has helped him when life got hard. And don't forget to check out his book, The Fortress and the Firebrand, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Thanks for listening to Life Journeys.
Covetousness runs deeper than mere wanting. It is the conviction that what you have can't make you whole. It disguises the hunger for significance as sacrifice and thrives in the noise that misses God's presence. We've been in the storm for so long, we've forgotten the calm. Contentment isn't found in abundance, but in God's sufficiency, living in his potential, not our own.